Okay, Brother Kadash, giving all praises to the Most High God, Yahweh. This is just a quick video. I seen this post, that's what inspired me to do a video. And I don't know who this is, but what she is saying is, I mean, even Google can see that Christianity in all its variations is false, right? And she put hashtag Hebrew Israelites, right? Because you got Christians, but then you also got Christian Hebrew Israelites, where they pretty much teaching the Christian doctrine mixed with a small hat doctrine, mixed with a couple of other things, right? Which goes back to Abba Bivens, which goes back to him being a part of the commandment keepers, but him kind of venturing off, doing his own thing, which they say it's a bad thing to do that, but when the leaders do it, then it's okay because they was inspired by God, which is crazy. You see what I'm saying? Which I always had a problem. That never added up to me because it's hypocritical, right? But and it is praising a man or worshiping man, and I forget the saying, but praising a man, because it's not like a moral thing about a person. You could switch up depending on who it is. And I was going down to a camp in St. Louis, and I had this same conversation with who was the leader down there, you know, but he didn't understand it. It flew over his head, you see what I'm saying? And that's one of the things that I was kind of talking to him about, when it was like, look bro, the way that you trying to treat me and act, you wouldn't treat an elder. And he was like, of course I wouldn't treat an elder, like pretty much saying he wouldn't treat an elder like that because that's his elder, and because that person been doing it way longer than him. And I get and I understand that, but that's not the way it's supposed to be when it comes to the law, statutes, and commandments. If a person sin, then they sin. If it ain't no sin, then you kind of got to be quiet about it, bro, or you could get in your feelings. So we had a problem about a guy getting in his feelings, but we ain't got to go into all that, right? I'm actually thankful and happy I went through that journey to be able to find the truth out, which is what this post is about, right? Now it says no, and now this woman did a Google search, right? Did God ever mention in the Old Testament making a plan to heal the sin nature of man by sacrificing a human son? It says no, God never mentioned a plan. Google is telling you this, and this is finna get even deeper, right? Let me finish reading it. No, God never mentioned a plan in the Old Testament to heal humanity's sin nature through the sacrifices of a human son. In fact, the Old Testament especially forbids human and child sacrifice, calling it detestable and stating that such a practice never even came into God's mind, right? While Christian theologically interprets certain passages like Isaiah 53 as foreshadowing Jesus, a split plan involving the execution of a human son is absent from the Hebrew Bible, right? And even the Jewish, they'll tell you that Isaiah 53 is not talking about Jesus, and nowhere in the Old Testament is it pointing to or talking about Jesus. And I had to come to this realization myself. The contradiction that woke me up to the truth was Colossians 1, where it speaks about what the Hebrew Israelite doctrine is, that Yahweh the Father created his son Yahweh Shai, and then everything else was created from Yahweh Shai. But Isaiah 54 and parts of 53 actually goes completely against that, because it clearly states, and you could go into the Bible Blue Letter, that Yahweh by name is the one that created Israel, the one that created earth. And it says that no other gods were next to him, pretty much, when he did no other gods near him, or pretty much saying no other gods could get the credit. Nothing else, no beings, no creation, anything else could get the credit for creating Israel and the earth and the heavens above but Yahweh. So Colossians 1 is a complete contradiction to that, because you can't say that anything else could, because you're giving the credit to Yahweh Shai. And this is what always felt bad to me, because if Yahweh Shai really walked the earth and he was a Hebrew man, he was a leader for his time, We could leave it there. And me honestly, in some Old Testament do have a problem. They say he never exists, but me honestly, I don't have a problem with that. But then when you start trying to make him God, when you give praises to the Most High Father, but every time you mention the Most High Father's name and the Most High Father Yahweh name come out your mouth, Yahweh Shai name has to be next to it. That always rubbed me the wrong way when I first got into truth. It was like, this ain't adding up. How come I always gotta mention Yahweh Shai name to Yahweh's name? It's the Father. Then I start getting confused because sometimes it's like I needed help. I needed God's help. And then it's like, okay, who do I pray to? Like, do I say the Father? Do I say Yahweh Shai? Do I gotta say both of their name every single time? But we don't see that in the scripture, especially in the Old Testament. Then it was like, before I came into the truth, I always had a relationship with God the Father only, and that's all I ever believed was God the Father. Then when I came in the truth, it was like, okay, Yahweh and Yahweh Shai, but the Old Testament, we don't see that. The God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, the way that Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob prayed to God is not the same way that we're praying to God today. The way that Moses prayed to God is not the same way we're praying to God today. The way that King David, King Solomon prayed to God is not the same way that we're praying to God today. So that always kind of was tugging on my spirit, like, hold up, like, shouldn't we be praying the same way Moses did? The same way King David, King Solomon. King Solomon had the most wisdom on earth. Shouldn't we be praying to God the same way he did? The same God that he prayed to in the same exact way? So something was always kind of like, you know, and then eventually things led to me becoming Old Testament only. But I wouldn't just say Old Testament. The New Testament kind of got, you know, it got some things that it took from the Old Testament. And the Old Testament brothers say, well, then you could just get it from the Old Testament. And I do agree with that too. You see what I'm saying? But I would say Yahweh only. Right? Father, Most High God, Yahweh only. One God. Right? So you won't see this. Now, the new thing that the Hebrew Israelites are doing today is they saying that AI technology is a demon and it's a spirit. I disagree with that. I disagree with the technology being a demon. That's the same thing they said about cell phones back in the day. That's the same thing they say about money. That's the same thing they say about all technology because they scared of it. And this is what keep our people hindered. And this is what keeps us in last place, is that we scared of the technology. And this is why Esau and the other nations do win. I don't think it's the technology that's bad or that's evil. I think it's the people that have control of the technology. If you was to ask me, the way that the scriptures are broken down, and if is there going to be AI technology in the kingdom, I would say artificial technology in the kingdom, I would say yes, because I believe that everything comes from God. The technology comes from God. God has given them the technology. It's just that they are evil, the ones that are used technology, not necessarily the technology itself. A Tesla electric car is not an evil technology. Are we going to have things maybe similar in the kingdom? I believe so. And I'll tell you why. Ezekiel chapter 1, when it describes a UFO, when it describes a chariot, you know, it's kind of describing something that almost like a drone, where it don't need no command, but you can command it. Like an angel don't have to be inside the UFO to control the UFO. It could control it through the spirit, right? So we took everything and we made it magical because our elders like Ezekiel and stuff back in the day, they didn't know anything really about technology, so they had to use what they got to explain what they were seeing. Right now, if I'm controlling a drone, let's just say I'm in the Pentagon, right, and I'm sitting in front of the screen and we got a $50 million drone that's the size of a school bus in the sky, and I'm controlling it, I'm flying it, it's doing what I want it to do, it goes anywhere I want it to go, it attacks when I want it to attack. Technically, that kind of lines up with my spirit is controlling this drone, right? Because I'm in control of it. That's all it's saying. So we got to start looking at some of these breakdowns in the Bible more from a technology standpoint, man. rather than a magical standpoint. It's the same thing. It goes wherever I want to go. You got to think about it. Something that could stop on a dime and then go this way and then go that way and then go up and go 1,000 miles per hour or faster than the speed of sound, or maybe even faster than the speed of light. That would kill anything biological. Anything with a body that's biological would die because of the G forces. Right now, angels could be spirits of fire. Right now, maybe it wouldn't kill something like that. That's the spirit of fire, but at the same time, it could simply be the angel spirit is in it, meaning that the angel is somewhere controlling it. Now, we also say that angels, because based on the Bible, Jacob wrestled with a man, wrestled with an angel. That the angels, we look like the angels. They got bodies like us who are the band, but their bodies is different than us. It don't matter how different the body is. If it's a biological body in any type of form, those G forces will kill it. And this makes sense if you just look into technology. Technology ain't bad. Stop trying to make it seem like technology is demon. This is what keeps us behind. No, it's not that. We may get free with the Lord using some type of AI technology, man. The Lord might be developing this AI technology to hand it over to us. We can't beat them with guns. We can't beat them with weapons. We definitely could beat them with AI technology. That's why it's a race right now for whoever could develop the AI technology. This AI technology may come from the Lord, man. You can't keep thinking of it like Esau is the owner of it. Esau ain't the owner of nothing, because everything in this world comes from Yahweh, the Most High God. So I don't look at some technology that they developed that's very powerful, but like, oh, that's evil. No, I look at it like the Most High God, Yahweh, created that technology. They evil the way they're using it, not the technology itself. And that's the problem that we're having, right? So now back to what we were saying, breaking it down, right? Now, if I go, if I'm controlling a drone, or if it says the Most High God, Yahweh, his spirit is going to be in the missiles, controlling the missiles where they connect, that you guys is thinking like a ghost is going to be inside the missiles. No, maybe the missiles could just be hacked and controlled through AI technology to go wherever the Most High God wants them to go. Do that make sense? So now you start looking at things as you start gaining more knowledge, like, oh, when it's talking about the spirit, it was just kind of like the best way they could explain it with the technology knowledge that they had during that time. But now that we start to get more knowledge over the technology and things are being revealed, even if it's being revealed through Esau, it's still being revealed by the Most High God, Yahweh. Then you start saying, oh, it's just saying that the Ezekiel's will is being controlled by an angel. We don't know where the angel is at, but maybe it's just controlling it remotely from somewhere through the spirit, or just through technology in a way. You see what I'm saying? So you got to realize that the kingdom's gonna have technology in it. These technologies come from the Lord, man, from God. It's just you guys want to stay in a place where you're not trying to understand it, and that's why we be behind. So now let's look at some of the comments, see what people are saying. That's why I came to this. Sister, you be on them, because what she said is true. We didn't need Google to say it. You could just read the Old Testament, right? I'm done going back and forth with people I care about. Yes, Paul might be capped. I mean, AI is ran by Revelations 2:9. Ask it if African Americans are Israelites. Leviticus and Jeremiah is referring to the sacrifice of Molech. For example, this is we shouldn't sacrifice animals on the Sabbath. I don't know what he's talking about. Because it's not humanity that would be saved, but the Israelites that would be saved. It says, then the Lord rained upon Sodom and Gomorrah brimstone fire from the Lord out of heaven. I guess this is Psalms 110:1. The Lord said unto my Lord, right? Which even if, like, let's just take your understanding of it, because I used to use that same breakdown. The Lord said unto my Lord, that he was, the King David is saying that the Lord said into the Most High God said unto Yahweh that No, until Yahweh Shai, yeah, that's the breakdown, right? But even if we take your understanding of that breakdown, which that's not the correct way to break that down, it still has nothing to do with Yahweh Shai or Jesus, and you can't prove it. You could just say, no, that's talking about Jesus, but you can't prove it though, right? Yahweh, where Yahweh says Yahweh sent him, the Son of Man appearing before the Ancient of Days. I used to use that one to prove Yahweh Shai too, but it still doesn't prove it. The Son of Man, we're all the Son of Man, right? And how I was taught with the Daniel, what your brother showed me, that if you keep going, when the angel breaks down what the understanding is, what he's seeing, he says the sons of the Most High, roughly paraphrasing, should take the kingdom of heaven. So it's telling you it's just the nation of Israel that's going to take the kingdom, right? And we may use AI technology. You guys keep thinking, like, when I came into truth, brothers was thinking like so, like, kind of like magical, and I was a part of it. You know, we was thinking, like, me and brother had conversations. I was like, man, when I get my powers, I want electric. I want like electric. I want to be able to like use electric and all my hands and stuff like that. You guys are thinking like it's magical, bro. And then I just seen brothers literally like put a bottle on the table and then like stare at the bottle and just think that they could use their mind to bring the bottle to their hand, like the Matrix or some shit like that, bro. We got to start thinking more technology, bro, and not be afraid of it. That's not realistic. That's not gonna happen. Y'all not just gonna get some type of download and then be able to fly. I remember, damn, I forgot the name of the organization, but it's just like believers in nature and shit. And they said something was happening on some day where some stars was supposed to be in alignment, and they had a countdown to the day, and it was like, on this day we finna get our superpowers. It was on social media, and it was like, man, on this day I'm finna be flying, I'm finna be shooting fire, kind of like the X-Men out their hands. And that's what, and I heard elders break down and say the X-Men is talking about us when we get those spiritual powers, that we gonna be doing things like the X-Men, bro. When you start to understand and you start to do more research and get more knowledgeable, you understand the biological bodies that we got now. I'm still not opposed to maybe the bodies, maybe something, there could be a change, not in these biological bodies we have, but maybe we could depart these bodies and then our spirit could inhabit something else. That's still a possibility, you know what I mean? But let's keep going. It says, for a child is born unto us, the son is given, the government shall rest on his shoulders, and he will be called Wonderful Counselor, Mighty of God, Everlasting Father, Prince of Peace, you know. And many of our kings have had these titles. It's just how they greeted, or not greeted, but how they would introduce, you know, the kings that would be in power. You know, mighty God. We all are gods. The Bible tell you that, power, because God just mean power, but it didn't say mighty Most High God, and that's where people go wrong, right? And he just gonna keep going back on here and Isaiah 53, which he really should start a couple chapters before. And he gonna get to talking about the suffering servant, but that's a lot to read. I'm not gonna read all that. He gonna get to talking about the suffering servant when it clearly in Isaiah it says to cause Israel as a people the servant, right? Let's see what they reply, matter of fact. Well, you and the Christians that's in here, and this is gonna always be a back and forth. I done seen some small hats have a debate on Julie B. I believe it's called Julie B. And they had a debate with some Muslim woman and Christian woman. And the Jewish woman, I ain't gonna lie, they just completely confounded them and teared them up. And it was easy, because one thing about it is they know that Old Testament, right? And you ain't finna tell them that without proving that it points to anything in the New Testament or Jesus Christ in the New Testament, right? And they gonna keep going and on. I'm just gonna leave it right there, and I'm gonna say salvation to the elect.